This is Peter Boykin, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. You can go to peterboykin.com. Look, I just attended the 2023 North Carolina GOP Convention. Our GOP is a little dysfunctional. Now, I did the math. There's 2.2 million registered Republicans in North Carolina. Of that, 50 to 100 active Republicans in each county. That's about 10,000 active Republicans who come to meetings across North Carolina. 10,000 out of 2.2 million. That doesn't count the probably 3 million unaffiliated voters who can still vote in the primaries for Republicans. Or if they're stuck taking a Democrat vote, which that's a whole nother story. That I think we should have an open ballot so people, especially if you're unaffiliated, you should be able to get everybody on the list. You shouldn't have to pick a Republican or a Democrat. But going over all of that, 10,000 max. It looks like on the sheet they could have a maximum of like almost 9,000 delegates. When it comes down to it, 0.11 of the registered Republicans came out to even be at that convention. From that, half of those people, only about 1,100 people were there when they did a vote to censure our senator, a Republican, Thom Tillis, stating he's a rhino, stating over little facts, but when it bottom line came down to it, they censored him for being okay with LGBT rights, the right to marriage. Because there's this big uproar about how a Republican platform still stating that traditional marriage is between a man and a woman. Now, I'm gay. And I will agree, yes, traditional marriage, religious marriage at least, is between a man and a woman. But when it came to the government and our Constitution, that means we the people. Life, liberty, and equal justice for all. And as a Republican and a conservative, I am supposed to be conserving the freedoms that we have. And if a man and a woman can marry, I don't see why a man and a man couldn't marry, and I don't see why a woman and a woman couldn't marry. I don't see what the big issue is about having gay people having the same rights. What I do see is that at times, we didn't even grant rights to women to vote. We didn't even grant rights to black people, and even immigrants. And we learned. And so what we're going through now is a rights for gays. Now, I've got some gay people in my community who claim that we already have all our rights, but not really, not if they're constantly trying to fight against them. We're having this pushback on Pride Month. Yes, there's a lot of people that are going over the top. There is a lot of events that go over the top. There's a lot of things that are definitely not conservative, and definitely I don't agree with. Like Donald Trump stated in his dinner. 5 years ago, the Republican Party didn't even know what transgenderism was, but now they enthusiastically stand up against it, yet not as enthusiastic about the border, which that's a bigger problem, and higher taxes in our economy, and that's a huge problem, as opposed to the small amount of people who are transitioning. And we really don't hear that many cases of children being transgendered. Now, I'll tell you, I'm against children. I don't think that if you can't drink until you're 21, if you can't smoke until you're 21, but you can serve in the military at 18, go figure, you should not be allowed to have body modifications done to you at underage. Now, there's also the hormones thing. You should be pushing growth hormones or push hormones on people unless it's medically necessary. And there's possibilities out there that some people have to take things because their bodies are just not adjusted very well. But this push against transgenders, this push against drag queens, this push against the LGBT rights, especially here in Pride Month, I'm very upset about the censure of Thom Tillis. Now, if you wanted to censor him about gun rights, some people said of that. Well, we have other Congress people that they quite literally praise who voted for red flag laws. They didn't go after him. They will call Thom Tillis a rhino, yet we just invited, I'm sure a very nice lady, I think I'm friends with her on Facebook, Hot Ham, a lifetime Democrat who converted to a Republican because the Republicans were treating her like crap. It's kind of like how the Democrats were treating her like crap. Kind of reminds me how I became an unaffiliated independent and finally a Republican because the Democrats were treating me like crap. And I decided to walk away, like my friend Brandon Straka. So I can see why people walk towards the Republican Party. And I can see why she's doing it. But they praise her. I'm pretty sure she's okay with gay rights. They praise her because she switched over and made that supermajority for the Republican Party. Yet they have a standing U.S. Senator who's Republican that we absolutely need, that they will gripe about a few points that they don't agree with. Even though Ronald Reagan with the 80-20, 80% my friend and 20% my foe does not make you my enemy, and even with Rule 11 where we do not talk bad about other Republicans, they vote to censor Thom Tillis. Not all the people, only 799, 800 out of the 1,100 out of the 1,800 that showed up. 29, or 800 out of the 1,100 out of the 1,800 that showed up. Meanwhile, we have a chairman that they tried to get rid of. Kane lost. He had 40% of the vote. Whatley had 60% of the vote. Our party that believes in paper ballots and IDs decided to go electronic for some reason, and it was a mess because most people there did not understand electronics. It was horrible. Hours later, while we're pushing on the Trump dinner, they still hadn't even figured it out, and I think they finally figured it out. But yet they didn't even get to the second chair. They didn't even get to the business. But they got that censor in for Thom Tillis. So it comes down to all they did the whole weekend was censor Thom Tillis, get no of their business done, and got half the people that they needed elected in a horrible system. Very dysfunctional. While people will be disgrunting in a 2024 session of the election, you'll have at least 40% of our little small base complaining that Kane should have won over Whatley, or asking for Whatley to drop out because the voting system was bad. No matter all the goals that Whatley has done over the years to push the GOP forward, and that Whatley talked about these in his nomination speech. And the only thing that Kane could talk about was he would get $250,000 donated to the GOP once he became chairman. Well, my challenge is, why don't you go ahead and get those donations now, even if you're not chairman? What's keeping you from doing that? You hold us hostage for the money? Then you claim that we should put out those mailers that talk about chairman clubs and etc., and that's just overabundance. Well, then you gripe about paying $75 for a fancy place, which has not been changed, according to Whatley, since he even took over, even though inflation and a better location. And you want to talk about how we, as Republicans, have to abide by a platform that we didn't vote on, that a few people put together, which reminds me of the 2016 Republican platform, National Republican platform, where they also believed in marriage between a man and a woman. But Donald Trump changed that. He didn't have a problem with that. He stood up with Peter Boykin, an openly gay Republican, and people cheered. And Donald Trump praised the gay community and held a rainbow flag out because of the deaths in a club in Pulse in Orlando. But he already was supporting the LGBT, even though if a lot of people say he doesn't, he did. He did during the 80s. He had the Trump clinics to help the AIDS patients, and he praised gays. But he treats people equally. He really does. The best people for the jobs. And he praises people. And that's what Republicans normally do. We put the best people in. I would hate to see that the Republicans would restrict an LGBT member from the Republican Party or from being elected, all because of the fact that they're in the gay community. Donald Trump wouldn't do that. I believe I'm the best candidate for our Republican Party, especially after the stuff that we've had to do with in the past, that can guide us through the future and get us through those hot topics, those gray issues. Because I was an engagement manager for multiple years, where I worked with multiple teams to engage and get things done properly. Everybody's going to walk away. They're not going to get what they wanted, but they're going to get what they need. Compromise is not a bad word. At the end of the day, what do we do with the abortion issue? Hot topic. We went from open abortions, do whatever hell you want, to weeks, the state's rights, to figure it out, to save lives, and give people the right to choose up to a top point, especially after COVID. Didn't we say, my body, my choice, I don't want to take the vaccine? Our party has to grow. Our party has to change. We can't beat the left. We can't save America. We can't do anything without people backing us. And when 11% of our Republican base can only those people can take the time to come out. But I can see why. I used to think, why are people not involved in the GOP? But I see this exclusive club, the same people, same tired people, complaining and arguing and fussing. They can get everything that they want, but they will find one little thing, two little things, and believe me, if I was elected, they'd probably censure me too.
Peter Boykin, running for Lieutenant Governor.
My name's Peter Boykin, like you said, running for Lieutenant Governor. I spent a lot of time engaging and getting things back in order, getting desks back in order, working with multiple teams, figuring out who's the best, and cheerleading and looking at statistics and everything that I think the Lieutenant Governor is supposed to do, or Governor's supposed to do. And as Lieutenant Governor, you don't have a lot of tasks, but you do have to engage between, you have to hurt, the Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate if you get that far. You have to make the right choices and the right votes, and you have to get everybody on par. So you have to go around the state, you have to cheerlead and meet people and be loud and obnoxious and tick people off. I do that a lot. So I feel like this is a job for me. I would definitely lead us toward the future. So I hope that y'all will come out, vote for me in the primary, because I know I can win in the general. And that the primary is my race. So you go to peterboykin.com, there's some information on. Check me out. Thank y'all.